Take a moment and do these 3 things. Hit the subscribe button on Bible Peak, share this message, and comment, "God gives me strength," below. This is a revelation of truth. The hardest betrayal is not from strangers. It's from the people you expected to support you the most. Your own family. Your own blood. The ones who should have been your greatest encouragement often become your greatest obstacle. And it doesn't make sense at first. Why would your own parents, siblings, or relatives doubt you? Why would they mock your dreams? Why would they resist the purpose that God Himself has placed on your life? The answer is painful but simple. Because they see you growing, and it terrifies them. Because your elevation exposes their stagnation. Because your anointing makes them uncomfortable. And because, deep inside, they don't want to admit the truth, that you were chosen for something greater. And they weren't. You used to be just like them. You were struggling, doubting yourself, trapped in the same cycles they were in. And as long as you stayed in that place, they felt secure. They felt in control. But the moment you started changing, maturing, stepping into your calling, they got nervous. Because when you rise, it forces them to look at themselves. And what do they see? That they have wasted years staying the same. That they had the same opportunities, the same time, the same ability, but they never took action. They settled while you kept pushing. And instead of celebrating you, instead of feeling inspired by you, they feel threatened. So they try to keep you small. They try to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. They say things like, "Oh, so now you think you're better than us? You're dreaming too big. Be realistic. You'll never make it. You should just do what we did." But here's what they won't say, that your success is exposing their complacency. That your transformation is proving that change is possible, but they were too afraid to pursue it themselves. And the only way they can feel better is if they convince you to stay at their level. But you weren't called to stay at their level. You were called to rise. They don't hate you because you are successful. They hate that it's you who is successful, not them. Because they remember who you used to be. They remember your struggles, your weaknesses, your past mistakes. And in their minds, you don't deserve to surpass them. They have boxed you in, defined you by who you once were, and they refuse to believe that God could have called you for something greater than them. This is the same spirit that caused Joseph's own brothers to betray him. Joseph was a chosen one. God gave him a vision of greatness. But instead of celebrating him, his own brothers were filled with jealousy. They plotted against him. They threw him into a pit. They sold him into slavery. And why? Because they couldn't stand the idea that God had chosen him for something bigger. And the same spirit exists today. Your own family may not throw you into a literal pit, but they will try to kill your dreams. They will try to discourage you, manipulate you, keep you bound in a small, limited mindset. Because your destiny is a threat to their comfort zone. But listen, just because they don't believe in your calling doesn't mean it's not real. What God has placed inside of you is not dependent on their approval. They didn't give you your calling, God did. And they cannot take it away. People can only give what they have inside of them. A person full of faith will pour faith into you. A person full of doubt will try to drown you in doubt. So when your family tells you, "That's impossible. You'll never make it. You should just stay where you are," they are not speaking about you. They are revealing their own internal limitations. They are projecting their own failures onto your future. Your mother, your father, your siblings, if they never chased their dreams, if they never stepped into their calling, if they never took risks, they assume you won't either. Because to admit that you can, that you will, that you are, would mean admitting that they could have too, but they didn't. And that truth is too painful for them to face. So instead, they choose to pull you down, rather than rise up with you. But hear me, just because they are afraid doesn't mean you have to be. Just because they gave up doesn't mean you have to. Just because they never believed in themselves doesn't mean you shouldn't believe in yourself. You are not here to live their story. You are here to live your own. The enemy knows that your destiny is great. And he also knows that the people who have the most influence over you are your family. So guess what he does? He uses them against you. Because if a stranger criticizes you, you ignore it. But if your own mother doubts you, your own father belittles you, your own siblings turn against you, that hits different. That cuts deeper. Because these are the people who should believe in you. And if the enemy can use their words, their actions, their disbelief to break your spirit, he can delay you. He can keep you second-guessing. He can make you lose faith in the vision God gave you. But you must remember, the battle is not against your family. It is against the spirit operating through them. That same spirit that made Cain jealous of Abel. That made Joseph's brothers betray him. That made even Jesus' own hometown reject him. It's the spirit of jealousy, doubt, and resistance that tries to stop every chosen one. But here's what they don't realize: no one can stop what God has ordained. Not your family. Not their words. Not their doubt. Not their fear. You were chosen, and no force in hell can change that. So keep going. Even if you have to go alone. Even if they never believe in you. Because at the end of the day, God's approval is all you need. If this message resonates with you, stand firm. Subscribe to Bible Peak, share this message, and comment, "God gives me strength." Because this is not just a message, this is a call to rise. Sometimes, it's not what they say, it's what they don't say. It's the silence when you achieve something great. It's the dismissive tone when you share your dreams. It's the way they act uninterested or even annoyed when you start growing beyond who you used to be, and you begin to wonder, why does it feel like my own family is against me? Why do they seem so distant when I try to step into something greater? Here's why: your growth challenges their comfort, your elevation makes them uneasy, and instead of celebrating you, they start trying to control you, limit you, or even tear you down. Pay attention to how your family reacts when you talk about your dreams. Do they encourage you? Do they speak life over you? Or do they laugh, mock, and make you doubt yourself? You tell them you want to start a business. That's risky. Just get a normal job like everyone else. You tell them you want to move to a new city. Why would you leave us? You won't make it on your own. You tell them God has called you to something greater. Oh please, don't get too carried away. Just be realistic. What they don't realize is God did not give them your vision. They don't see what you see, they don't hear what you hear, but instead of admitting that, they belittle your dreams to make themselves feel better. They make you doubt yourself, hoping that you will shrink back to their level, because if you succeed, it forces them to confront their own fears, their own failures, their own excuses, and they don't want to do that. So instead, they try to keep you where they are. But here's the truth: if God placed something inside of you, no amount of doubt from others can cancel it. Your destiny is not dependent on their approval. And the sooner you realize that, the freer you become. Watch how people react when God starts blessing you. When something good happens in your life, do they genuinely celebrate with you, encourage you to keep going, show happiness for your progress? Or do they get quiet and distant, change the subject when you talk about your achievements, make passive-aggressive comments to downplay your success? This is a major sign. Real love celebrates. Real support claps for you when you win, but those who are secretly envious will act cold, dismissive, or even irritated when you start moving forward, and it's because they don't want to see you go where they can't, they don't want to see you surpass them. So rather than saying, "I'm happy for you," they say nothing at all, or worse, they try to find ways to make you feel guilty for your blessings. "Oh, must be nice to have things working out for you. Not all of us have time to chase dreams, some of us have real responsibilities." These are not words of support, these are hidden attacks, and they come from a place of jealousy and insecurity. So be mindful of those who go silent when you win. Because those are the ones who were never truly for you. The closer you get to your purpose, the more they try to pull you back, and one of the ways they do this is through control. They tell you what you should do, they pressure you to live life on their terms, not yours. They manipulate you with guilt. "If you really loved us, you wouldn't do this. After all we've done for you, this is how you repay us? Why do you have to be so different? Just be normal like everyone else." But here's what they don't understand. God didn't call you to be normal. God didn't create you to fit in. He set you apart for a reason, and the moment you stop living for their expectations and start living for God's purpose, they lose their ability to control you. And that's why they resist. They don't want to lose the influence they once had over you. Because as long as you stay in their comfort zone, they can keep you small, but the moment you start walking in your own identity, you become unstoppable, and they know it, so they try to pull you back into the box they created for you. But listen, God already broke that box. You cannot go back to who you used to be, you cannot shrink yourself to make them comfortable, because your destiny is bigger than their expectations, and if you continue to let them dictate your life, you will never step into the fullness of what God has planned for you. Your family was meant to love you, support you, uplift you, but sometimes they are the very ones who try to hold you back the most, not always because they are bad people, but because they are operating from fear, jealousy, or control, and if you are not careful, they can keep you stuck in a place you were never meant to stay. But you have a choice. You can choose to shrink yourself to make them comfortable, or you can choose to walk boldly in what God has called you to do, even if it means doing it without their approval, because at the end of the day, it is not their validation that will fulfill you, it is God's purpose, and no one, not even your family, can take that away from you. This battle is not new, it has been happening since the beginning of time. Even Jesus himself, the Son of God, was rejected by his own people. His own hometown doubted him, his own family did not believe in him at first. A prophet is not without honor except in his own town and in his own home. Matthew 13 verse 57. If even Jesus faced rejection from those closest to him, what makes you think your journey will be any different? You are not alone in this. This is part of the refining process of the chosen ones. So how do you move forward when your own family does not support you? How do you keep going when the people you love try to keep you small? Here's how. Your validation does not come from people. It comes from God. Your purpose does not depend on your family's approval. It depends on God's plan. You were not chosen by them, you were chosen by Him. So when they doubt you, when they mock you, when they try to discourage you, stand firm in your faith. They may not see what God is doing in you, but that does not mean it isn't real. They may not understand your journey, but that does not mean you are on the wrong path. You are walking in a direction they were never meant to go, so do not expect them to understand. Do not seek validation from those who cannot see what you see. Keep your eyes on God, keep your heart anchored in His truth, and let your faith be stronger than their doubts. Words are powerful. What people say can either build you up or break you down, and the words of family members, those who are closest to you, can cut the deepest. You'll never make it, you're not smart enough, you're just wasting your time. They will try to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. They will try to make you second-guess yourself. They will try to convince you that you are not capable. But listen, what they say does not matter. What God says about you is what matters. He says you are chosen. He says you are equipped. He says you are called for a purpose. So whose voice will you listen to, the voice of fear and doubt, or the voice of faith and truth? You must decide. Will you let their words break you? Or will you let God's promises strengthen you, because what they say cannot stop you, only you can stop you, and as long as you keep moving forward, their words will have no power over your destiny. You do not need to fight this battle on your own. You do not need to argue, prove yourself, or seek revenge, because this is not just a natural battle, this is a spiritual one, and God Himself will fight for you. The Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. Exodus 14 verse 14, so instead of getting angry, pray. Instead of trying to prove them wrong, let God reveal the truth in His timing. Instead of wasting energy arguing, focus on what God has called you to do, because the more you succeed, the more your life will be the proof they cannot deny. And when the time is right, God will deal with them in His own way. Do not let their doubts stop you. Do not let their negativity hold you back. Keep moving, keep growing. Keep stepping into your purpose, because what happened to Joseph, his own brothers betrayed him. They sold him into slavery. They tried to destroy his destiny. But what did God do? He took Joseph from the pit to the palace. He took him from being a slave to a ruler. The very people who tried to destroy him ended up bowing before him. Because when God has a plan for your life, no one can stop it, so do not be discouraged. Do not waste time trying to change their minds. Your success will speak for itself. Your anointing will prove them wrong. Your destiny is bigger than their opinions, so walk in it, even if you have to walk alone. Your family may have hurt you. They may have doubted you, ridiculed you, and made you feel like you were not enough. But hear me, they do not have the power to stop what God has already set in motion. Their words cannot cancel His plan. Their rejection cannot erase your anointing. Their disbelief does not change what God has declared over your life. You were chosen by Him, not them. So stop looking for approval from those who were never meant to understand your calling. Stop waiting for validation from those who do not have the vision to see what God is doing in you, because your destiny is not tied to their opinions. Your future is in God's hands, not theirs. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will believe in your dreams. Not everyone will see the greatness inside of you, and that includes your own family, because they were not the ones who received your calling. They were not the ones who heard God's voice speaking your purpose. They were not the ones who were set apart for something greater. You were. So do not expect them to see what you see. Do not expect them to walk with you on a path that was never meant for them. And do not let their inability to see cause you to doubt what God has already shown you. You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission. All you need is the confirmation of the one who called you, and if He is for you, who can be against you? There will be times when you feel alone. There will be times when you wonder, why do I have to do this by myself? But let me tell you something, you are never truly alone, because when everyone else walks away, God remains. When family turns their back on you, He stays close. When no one else believes in you, He still does. So keep walking, even if no one claps for you, even if no one understands, even if you have to take step after step with no support from those closest to you, because the road of the chosen ones is never easy. It is a narrow path, a path filled with challenges, trials, and moments of deep loneliness, but it is also the path to greatness, purpose, and divine fulfillment. So do not stop, do not shrink back, do not let the voices of doubt drown out the voice of God. Keep moving forward, because what He has for you, no one can take away. Your family may try to discourage you. They may try to limit you. They may try to keep you bound to who you used to be, but they cannot stop God's plan. They cannot steal what was never theirs to take. And they cannot rewrite the destiny that God Himself has already written for you. So, hold your head high, stand firm in your faith, and walk boldly into the future that God has prepared for you, because you are not just anyone, you are chosen.